Ever get that feeling, like you stumble on something and you just gotta know more? Well, buckle up because today we are diving deep, and I mean deep, into the world of Joe Troubadour, and let me tell you, this ain't your grandma's medieval minstrel.
More like we've stumbled on a 21st century renaissance. We've got music, we've got this whole digital nomad thing, social impact projects, and it's all tied together by this Joe Troubadour. Wild, right?
It's a lot to process, that's for sure. We're talking a whole website, albums, like across the musical spectrum, books on AI songwriting, self-publishing. There's even this growing homes project and something called a Type V civilization. Honestly, when I first jumped in, I was like, where's the instruction manual?
Think of it this way, Joe Troubadour. It's not just a name, it's more like a whole universe. And like any good universe, you got your constellations, right? We can think of it in three main parts. Music, that digital nomad life, and then the social impact side.
Okay, yeah, that helps. So music first. I gotta say, this album, Global Harmony, it blew me away. Songs in 15 languages. 15. That's not world music, that's like the whole planet singing.
And it gets at this idea we see everywhere in this material. Miami to Mumbai. Like imagine digital nomads, but they're collaborating across cultures. No borders, just bam, working together from opposite sides of the world. What does that make you think of?
It just speaks to how powerful connection can be, right? All those different voices coming together. But hold on, back to the music for a sec. You mentioned AI songwriting, and I gotta be honest, that's a new one for me. It's like centuries-old tradition meets the future, and I don't know what to think.
Right. It makes you wonder about the future of music. Is this the next step, like a whole new genre is about to explode? We see this push and pull, the old and the new, all through Joe's work.
Oh, for sure. Which brings us to that digital nomad life, thread number 2, as you put it. And it's more than just working from some beach in Mali, though that does sound nice right now. It's like Joe's offering this whole toolkit to build a life where you're not tied down. Tips for remote work, even a book series on starting a business online. It's like he wants to give people the power to say sayonara to the 9 to 5.
And that all ties right back to Miami to Mumbai, right? It's not just about escaping the cubicle, it's plugging into this global network of people who get it. And that emphasis on community, it's everywhere in this material.
It's like he's spearheading a new way of life almost. Work, life, location, it's all secondary to what you're passionate about. But it's not all about the individual, is it? This social impact side, it's almost utopian,
Yeah, and this is where we get into growing homes and this Type V civilization thing. Admit it, sounds a little out there first, right?
Totally threw me for a loop. So are we talking achievable goals here, or is this more like, aspirational philosophies, hoping for a better future, that kind of thing?
$1 million question, right? And this is where Joe's work gets really interesting. It's like he's got one foot in reality, the other in this ideal future. We should dig into that more, don't you think?
Absolutely. We've got music, we've got the nomad life, this vision of, a better tomorrow. But how does it all work, really? Let's unpack that right after this.
So we're talking growing homes, Type V civilizations, and honestly, it does sound a bit like we're about to warp speed into a sci-fi flick. But then you actually read this stuff and wow, the details, it's surprisingly grounded, like that Type V civilization thing.
It comes from astrophysics, right? It's how they categorize how much energy a civilization uses, their tech level, all on like a galaxy scale, Type V, that's top tier, harnessing the energy of whole galaxies. Can you imagine? Yeah, my brain's kind of glitching, trying to, honestly. But, and here's where it gets cool, Joe ties it back to us right here, right now. Like, he uses it as this model for how we could have sustainability, global cooperation, all that. Says if humanity wants to reach its potential, gotta think bigger. Planet-sized thinking, universe-sized thinking even.
Exactly. But he doesn't just leave it as this big abstract idea. He brings it down to earth, literally, with the Growing Homes project. Like, remember those abandoned buildings? He's talking about repurposing them, making these self-sufficient communities, urban farming, renewable energy, the whole shebang.
Yeah, I was looking at those plans, turning warehouses into vertical farms. It's like taking these symbols of, things falling apart and making them into something new and hopeful.
That's what's so cool about his work. It's visionary, but also gets its hands dirty,
Yeah.
And speaking of getting things done, that entrepreneurial side of him, it pops up again with Joe. Solutions, right.
Oh yeah, Joe. Solutions, it's not just a website. It's Joe Fansler, the man himself, running a whole consulting firm. And the stuff they do, it's not just coaching, though they do that too. They're into business strategy, even making government policy more efficient.
Like he's created this system where creativity fuels business and business fuels those big picture goals. Makes you think, right? Ever thought about how your own skills, what you're passionate about, could connect with the cause you care about?
100%. And that's what's inspiring. Work, passion, purpose, it's all blending together. But this didn't just appear out of thin air, did it? We're talking decades of work, pushing boundaries. 1987, right? Back when I was still rocking a cassette player, Joe's already online.
Way ahead of the curve. Long before Amazon was a glimmer in Bezos' eye, Joe's building online platforms. Remember, worldwide manufacturers.
Which then morphed into worldwide outlets, like the original online shopping mall. I mean, this was when dial-up was still a thing.
Exactly. And that same energy, using tech to connect people, it runs through everything he does. It's what connects those early days in Indianapolis to the Bombay Troubadours now.
Speaking of Indianapolis, it's interesting how his work has moved geographically. Starts there, specific place, then expands outward. Now Occitanie in France. It's like his vision's gone global, just like the lifestyle he promotes.
And not just virtually either. There's this pattern of repurposing physical spaces too. The consolidated building in Indianapolis, that was his tech hub back in the day. Now he's talking about turning old French chateaus into these like hubs for digital nomads.
Breathing new life into these places, holding on to history while building the future. Kind of poetic when you think about it.
Totally. And that leads us to another big piece of this whole puzzle, your new life plan. This isn't just about you or me changing our lives, it's about a bigger shift, a more equitable, sustainable world. Let's dive into that next,
Your new life plan. It's a bold statement, isn't it? Like, here's the plan to change your life, everything.
Ambitious, for sure. We're talking repurposed properties, global education, even a new global currency. But, and this is key, I think, it makes these huge ideas feel doable, like emphasizing what each person can do.
That's what I thought too. It's not about waiting around for the government or whoever to fix things. It's about us, each of us, deciding to change and doing something about it.
Right. And it's not just all airy-fairy ideals either. Your new life plan gets into the nitty-gritty. Remember those empty warehouses? Joe lays out a plan to turn them into tech hubs, jobs, innovation in places that got left behind.
Exactly. And it's not all tech-focused either. There's a ton about sustainable living, getting back in touch with nature, rebuilding local economies. It's all connected. You know what I mean?
100%. Circles back to that theme of community, your new life plan. It's envisioning this world where we're not just online, we're together, sharing skills, helping each other grow. It's powerful stuff.
It really is. Makes you realize that Joe Troubadour, it's not just a name, it's a movement, sure, but it's a call to action too. Like, hey, we all have something to offer to build a better world.
And his story, from those early days in Indianapolis to all this global stuff now, it proves it can be done. It starts with that spark, right?
Yeah.
An idea.
Yeah.
Then it grows. Collaboration, trying new things, believing in the power of connection. That's how it happens.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the whole Joe Troubadour universe, here's the question we'll leave you with. What's your part going to be? What spark are you going to light up in this whole, what did we call it? This nomadic renaissance. The journey's out there waiting for you to jump in.